I am Justin Boyd.
And I'm Brittany Pacheco.
I'm Tristan Jones.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, a new Game of Thrones prequel. The season's wrapped. We're here to break it all down, provide us with our review for what turned out to be a very surprising, awesome show. I think we'll all agree on that. But before we give our overall thoughts, I want to hit y'all with some Night of the Seven Kingdom facts. The show was released on January 18th. The finale was aired on February 22nd, 2026. 6 episodes, so very short show. The run times for the episodes were pretty short too, 31 minutes to like 42 minutes. So definitely much shorter than House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones itself. The show is the third TV series in George R.R. Martin's Song of Ice and Fire kind of series. It actually falls. The show takes place 80 years after House of the Dragon and about 90 years before Game of Thrones. So smack dab in the middle of those two shows. It's already been renewed for a season 2, so that's exciting. And it sounds like it might air in 2027, which is also pretty cool for like TV nowadays. Like, it's weird to have a TV show that's like every year. That'd be nice to kind of get that trend going again. That'd be kind of cool. The story follows the tale of Duncan Egg. It's a series of novellas. This is just the first. I'm not even sure if this even takes up the first book, honestly. From the research I found out, I don't think it really does. I think it just kind of picks and chooses.
It's just the first. It's like one long chapter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool because this show. Well, like I said, we'll get into it in a second. Created by Ira Parker and of course George R.R. Martin. Parker served as the showrunner, and the cast is Peter Claffey is Sir Duncan the Tall, also known as Dunk, and he's a hedge knight. And then the other main character is played by Dexter Ansell. He plays Egg, who has a secret. We learn later on he's Aegon Targaryen. He's another Aegon Targaryen that we get to talk about, so that's cool. The rest of the cast is Daniel Ings, Shaun Thomas, Tanzyn Crawford, Danny Webb, Henry Ashton, Edward Ashley, Bertie Carvel, Sam Spruell, Finn Bennett, Rowan Robinson, and Tom Vaughan-Lawlor. Brittany, when I say A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, what do you think about that?
Initially, when we started seeing previews, or even before that, just the announcement that this was going to be made into a TV series, I had no idea what to think on it, really. I know the book exists. I have yet to read the book. And actually, for me, I was like, okay, not reading the book because I just wanted to enjoy the show, right? When we finally did get to see the teaser trailer, it was a little jarring just because of what we come to know to be a Game of Thrones production, right? Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. It's like a very serious drama, and there's going to be action. There's going to be a lot of characters. I think we all should know at some point to never, ever have a favorite character. But that being said, seeing the teaser trailer for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms was so opposite of what we get from a Game of Thrones production, because I think, Justin, you were the one who said it to me. It came off as a quasi comedy, and I don't know if the book is intended to be like that or not. Again, have not listened to it, have not read it. My husband has been listening to it, and I just had no idea what to expect. Again, I was a little apprehensive, right? But like everything else, try to walk into this with an open mind. That first episode, just literally had no idea what to expect. You hear the hero music theme. You see Sir Dunk, not quite Sir at that point, right? But you hear the music playing. He's got this really serious look, and then next thing you know, you see him like having a bowel movement, and it's just like, what is happening?
Explosive,
in the world?
Yeah.
Explosive, right? And then the second episode, mistakenly watched that with my mother in the room. Oh my God. If I had known. Anyway, I was pleasantly surprised with the direction that this whole season, just the storytelling. I love Dexter. Like, protect him at all costs. Like, that child is just pure perfection. I love his portrayal of Egg. I will say though, the last 2 episodes for me probably didn't really hit it like what everyone else is thinking. But we'll talk about that when we get to the penultimate and the finale. But overall, I really did enjoy this first season. I'm happy that we're going to get a second season. And from my understanding, they're going to keep with the same formula as to how many episodes we're going to get, as well as the short time for every episode. So I'm looking forward to it.
Tristan, what did you think about the first season of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms?
I have to be honest, man. I have a complex relationship with this story. I purchased the book probably at this point 10 years ago. Started reading it a couple times, and my brain, I guess, it has been so rewired from reading like the actual Song of Ice and Fire books that I expected like all this action. I expected a different book, a different story than what I got. So I never finished it. I could never get through it. I would always stop at like page 70 or something like that, and just like, you know what, this is too slow, too boring. As I've gotten older in my advanced age, and you've heard me talk about it on these podcasts before, like I appreciate slow now. And so I started rereading it, honestly, this past week. I stopped yesterday, like right where the penultimate episode stopped. So, and I finished reading it after, I watched the finale. So I'm done with the first novella. I'm going to go ahead and read through the last 2. Pleasantly, I enjoy this, exponentially more than when 10 years ago when I first started to read it. Again, I appreciate the nuances of just like this very grounded story. You say everything else we know about Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, like everything is big. It's so granular, dragons and these big fights and these stories that encompass essentially an entire, continent, where everything in this particular story is relegated to like this essentially Ashford, which is, this kingdom, a small castle in a reach, essentially. Like it's all like it's compressed everything there, and to me that made the story better. Like I do appreciate like the person to person dialogue, which I think that's where Game of Thrones is at its best, and not so much when they lean too heavy into like the battles and the wars, or the dragons and the supernatural stuff, all of which they've done really well at different times, and some of the best TV we've seen at a lot of times. But when they in season 7, season 8 of Game of Thrones, a little sometimes in season 2 of House of Dragon, I think that this universe can forget what makes it like so infectious. And it's the jokes, it's the smaller stories that we see with Duncan Egg and Lionel Baratheon and like all these different characters. So I love it. Justin was, hey man, it's great, watch it, catch up, and I finally did. And I'm very grateful for the experience. I can't wait for season 2. Like you say, potentially getting it in 2027 seems really, really plausible. Like, again, this isn't the biggest show. Like, right. We don't have to worry about coming up with a budget for 8 dragons and going to all these different, like, they're going to obviously visit different castles, so you need that. But I feel like this is a show that you could easily make within a year. So I can't wait for season 2. Season 2 and season 3, I'm going to be ahead of, because I'm going to go ahead and finish the books, finish the novellas. But I absolutely love season 1. Can't wait for season 2.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I have not read this book. I've not read any of the books, but prior to the season, I almost bought the Audible book for this. I mean, I was eyeing it for a while, all right? And I was thinking, okay, I have some big holiday driving to do. It's like a 10 or 11 hour audio book. I'm like, you know what? I could definitely knock that out over the holidays, but I didn't do it. I was like, you know what? Because I don't want to be spoiled. I'm glad I didn't do it, because this show is awesome. I mean, this is like, I think a lot of people, and I know I'm in that the boat of these people. It's like, I think a lot of us were pleasantly surprised by this. Like Brittany said, watching the first trailer, the first thing I noticed was that it seemed like it was like overly comedic, which so I love comedy, so I wasn't like turned off by that, but I was kind of like, oh, this is a different kind of Game of Thrones show. It's almost like how when She-Hulk came out, it was like the first kind of Marvel comedy, and of course it didn't hit with people like this is hitting with people, but it was a different kind of genre to this world, but you watching the show, it's like, I think this is the best season of Game of Thrones TV since season 6 of the original show. I really do. I think it's stronger than both seasons of House of the Dragon and the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. And like Tristan said, you get back to, it's kind of like back to the basics. It's a smaller story. We're not focused on these people who are these highborn people who are focused on Iron Throne. I'm going to throw the throne, or I'm going from this other country and I'm trying to get this army so we can fight. It's this this lowly hedge knight. He meets this young kid who becomes his squire, and it takes off from there. It's the story of Dunk and Egg. And I remember years ago hearing about this story, and I thought, man, that doesn't sound very entertaining. I remember we would talk about it at work, and Frank was like, yeah, it's pretty boring. The book's pretty boring. But I mean, other people kind of said that too. They said, like, hey, like it, and to me, it just never, I didn't get it. But now that I see it, I get it. And I think this is like, seriously, some of the best TV I've seen in a long time. And I think the shorter run times really do help. And I think, Tristan, you hit on it, like budget wise, it's a smaller show, so smaller budgets, but also like when you're only doing 35-minute episodes or whatever, it's not going to take you as long to turn them around. And when you're staying in the same location, it's more about people talking in rooms or people talking outside under a tree, or those kind of scenes that honestly, they mean more to us than the battles do. Yeah, the battles have cool names, the Battle of the Bastards or Hardhome or whatever. Those are cool, like, titles, right? We'll never forget those names. But like, do I remember every moment of those fights? No. Do I remember many moments of those fights? Not really. I mean, just like the very like climactic stuff, but when characters are revealing stuff and talking about, I mean, the MCU is the same way. I mean, the best stuff in the MCU are what Tony Stark and what Iron Man and Captain America talk to when they, their dialogue back and forth. That's the best stuff in the MCU. It's not so much the fights and stuff. So this show really kind of, I think it really brought a lot of people back. I see that a lot. People are saying, we're so back with this show, and I truly feel that way. And I'm not. Game of Thrones is not my favorite thing. I know, like, Tristan, you're way more versed in this than I am. Brittany, you're certainly more versed than I am. But the show kind of brought me back.
And it's the thing I appreciate a lot more now, as I'm just kind of diving back into it, is that they're able to Dunk and Egg in itself, like we talk about it like it's a small story. Dunk and Egg, like, it is very consequential to future events in the Targaryen dynasty, just Westeros in general.
Yeah.
But again, we get to focus on like just their relationship and like everything that comes from it, right? I think it's it just kind of gets back to like the brilliance of George R.R. Martin and like creating this universe, because there's so many side stories that you could tell that, and many of them have like these domino effects that lead to like the big moments that we get to, by the time we get to season 1 of Game of Thrones. And again, for me, when I first started like getting into this particular story, like it was hard because it's like coming down from like this super high, like I just went on a weekend cocaine binge, and like now it's like, hey, I'm smoking cigarettes. Like, this just doesn't do the same thing for me. But like, again, as time has gone by, and like you realize like, oh man, like, oh, this happened, this led to this, and this, like, hey, Dunk and Egg is like one of the more consequential side stories that they could tell for any type of prequel series. I doubted it at first. I desperately wanted, Robert's Rebellion, maybe Aegon's Conquest. But as the more you start reading, it's like, oh man, no, Aegon the Unlikely, Sir Duncan the Tall, like they become legendary figures in Westeros, and they both really start, obviously Dunk's humble beginnings or more humble than eggs, but both of them start from, relative to their status, both of them start at the bottom, and we get to kind of see that relationship and then see how consequential both of them as individual figures and then them together become to this world, because there's a lot of famous lore in Westeros that both of them are a part of, and we see the beginning parts of that in this series.
Yeah. I initially laughed at Tristan talking about this is one of the more consequential stories that George R.R. Martin has given us, and I had a laugh at that moment because one of the last lines that Sir Arlen Pennytree says in the finale is that a true knight finishes his story. And the comparison of that to George R.R. Martin not completing Winds of Winter, not giving us his written word on the finale of A Song of Ice and Fire, and just basically giving up on that story because HBO did what HBO did. And at least with this story, it's complete, y'all. So there is no interpretation.
Not necessarily, because I've heard some stuff that like three of the novellas are complete, but the story isn't. I don't think it's totally complete. Right. There might be more. There's room for more if
sure. But in the sense of like just material for what we're going to get in the near future, yes, at least that's complete. So, George R.R. Martin, until further notice, you are not a true knight, sir. I have spoken, but yeah, I mean this was a really interesting story to pick up on, because the fact that it's taken place so many years after the Dance of Dragons and so many years before what we know to be Game of Thrones, and you're seeing the consequences of what we're going to eventually get from the House of the Dragon. What happens to the Targaryens? They're no longer at the peak of their legacy. Their dynasty has completely just shattered. They no longer have dragons, and so they are forced to go to these tourneys in different cities in the realm to kind of just keep up appearances, and be princes and be royal. And I will say for Prince Baelor, my goodness, welcome to the season 1 club. My goodness, what a performance. But also with the Targaryens specifically, you're seeing the mixed bloods now. They're no longer pure, obviously, because so many of them have died out. Now they've had to marry into the Martells of Dorne or Baratheons and what have you. I mean, we did see that with Princess Rhaenys. She actually is a Baratheon. She is supposed to have dark hair like a Baratheon, but in the show they made her silver haired. Anyway, that's beside the point. But you're having to see just how much of a change within the Targaryen dynasty from what we've seen with House of the Dragon to just eventually dwindling to nothing, like when we were first introduced to Daenerys and her brother in Game of Thrones. So it's really fascinating to just kind of watch how this family on the decline. I don't know. It was really interesting for me.
And while it is a smaller story, and Sir Dunk is this hedge knight. He's this lowborn, he's this guy from Fleabottom, right? But we do see him interacting with all the families that we know. We know the Baratheons, we know the Targaryens, we know all these names, the Breezeberry, and all this kind of stuff. We've heard these people's names before. We've seen them on these different shows. But I've probably seen this circulated online the last couple of days about how I completely forgot about this. But during Game of Thrones, in one of the first 4 seasons, remember the scene where Joffrey is looking up in that book and he mentions Sir Duncan the Tall, and he's like, "Oh, 4 pages." He's like, this guy, had a lot. There's a lot written about him, and it's like, now see me,
quite a man. Quite a knight.
But so for me, that's exciting now because I don't know what happens to this character. I mean, obviously he doesn't make it to Game of Thrones, so he doesn't live 100 years, I guess, or 120 years, whatever, however old he is. But I'm excited to see, why were there 4 pages written about him? I mean, I think we're going to find, we saw one of those pages probably, or at least half of the page written in the first season of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. But I'm really looking forward to finding out his importance to Game of Thrones.
But I have a question. with that book, I thought that book was only for those who were part of the Kingsguard, not so much the story of them prior to joining the Kingsguard. So
Okay.
that's just my understanding. I mean,
so yes, the book it does captures it does like discuss like actual Kingsguard, but they also discuss like deeds done before they became official Kingsguards as well.
Gotcha.
And Sir Duncan was a fucking G, man. That's why he got 4 pages. But
I don't doubt it. But also Joffrey is a big spoiler. If you go back and watch that same season, and he's showing off to Marjorie Tyrell in the Sept of Baelor about what happened to certain characters of the Targaryens.
Yeah, he spoiled House of Dragon.
Okay. Yeah. Also, there's a full book on that, people. So go ahead and become familiar before the next season drops.
Yeah.
But that being said, I won't spoil that here necessarily, but we do know what happens to certain characters for sure, certain despicable characters that are
because of that
Joffrey adjacent.
do y'all think that maybe they should have waited until after House of the Dragon was done with its 4-season run or whatever before this show comes out, or do you think it's
No.
Okay.
No.
I mean,
no, because you're going to need something to fill the void once House of the Dragon is off air because they're completing the next and final season or what have you. You need filler, and I'm actually content with there being filler, if you will, and it's still part of the same universe, right? You're just in different periods of time.
Also, George R.R. Martin, HBO, they treat A Song of Ice and Fire and like all the corresponding stories like it's literal history. Yeah. Like this is just something that you should know. Like I don't think they care that it's spoiled. I think to me, like the genius outside of like the actual Game of Thrones, the show, the genius is not in. Hey, I know it's what happens in all of this shit. To be being honest. So I come into it with like the spoilers, but like for me, it's one seeing a lot of things that have been discussed in these books played out. You know, that's a big draw. And then 2, like seeing like the machinations of how these things happen, right? Like it's so much like irony in so many of our characters. Sir Duncan, you know, goes on to become this legendary figure, you know, as a knight, as a Kingsguard, but like all of this starts with a lie. You know, it's like, was he really knighted? You know, that Baelor like has the potential to be this great. Everybody agrees that he has this potential to be this great king. Eventually, he doesn't make it, you know, to actually become king, like because of some lie that his nephews told. You know, like it's so much irony that seeing those things play out, I think is just as interesting as like finding out what happens at the end. Because like again, I know what's going to happen at the end of House of Dragon. Like I'm going to be tuned in. It's like because I need to see how these things happen. What's changed? Like there's a bunch of stuff that's different in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms from the actual book. You know, so seeing those things play out and seeing like the different decisions that our Parker makes telling the story, I think is just as interesting, regardless if you know what happens or not.
Yeah, I'm with Tristan on this. I like reading. Obviously, I like knowing things ahead of time, but at the same time, I was just wanting to enjoy the show for what it was. And yes, there's always going to be differences, creative liberty, if you will, from book to screen. But for the journey that we are embarking with Sir Duncan and Egg, I'm really enjoying this. Like I'm enjoying to see what is going to transpire. And like Tristan, I do know what happens to these characters at the very end of it. That much I've researched on my own, but it's getting to visually see the struggles, the other side quests, if you will, side stories that we're going to again take this journey with these two and how it plays such a bigger picture, like a bigger role in years to come.
Like we know what the hell happened to Alexander Hamilton, you know. It's like, you know, like it doesn't make it any less interesting.
No, that's fair. That's a good point. I guess we can just kind of start from like the beginning because I want to hit like the high moments of the season There were 6 episodes. Let's kind of go through like the big moments. First off, like, talk about how Dunk and Egg meet. But Brittany, like, in talking about that, let's talk about how great those 2 actors are and how, like, just like Game of Thrones, this show has the ability to create stars. And I think with Peter Claffey, we've got a star. I don't know if he's going to be in Marvel or DC or James Bond or something, but like this guy's going somewhere outside of Westeros. So what'd you think about him and the meetup with Egg to start off?
Yeah, I had no knowledge to who Peter Caffey was prior to this production. And I got to say, I'm really enjoying him. I love the personality that he gives to Duncan. Again, have not read the book, but also appreciate the fact that they production have allowed Peter to continue using his actual Irish accent, which is very refreshing, I think, because a lot of the times we're so used to just hearing different regional accents that are English, right? And of course, even with the Northernmen, right, the Starks, it's very close to being very Scottish. So I appreciate hearing like the Irish accent as a main character. So that's really cool, really refreshing. Peter just kind of like blew me away. I'm like, this guy's funny. Like whether he's intentionally trying to be funny or not, like he's just funny because he's awkward, right? When he's trying to explain things and then Egg kind of calls him out on the explanation or whatever point it was that he was trying to make. It's like, well, a lot of people have called me stupid. And then Egg's just waiting for, the other part of that. And it's just,
yeah.
And I'm telling y'all, that little boy, Dexter Soul, like he is perfection. Like he is my favorite in this whole series right now. And his delivery, his performance, and just how matter of fact he is, which is so unusual given the dynamics of these characters. You have one who I think Dunk is supposed to be like 16 in the books or something like that. Yeah. And then Egg is also just, a little boy, but you're seeing just how little Duncan knows as opposed to Aegon, who knows quite a bit and schools Sir Duncan, throughout this whole series. And so, I mean, I love the juxtaposition of that. It's just really cute and it's really sweet. And I love that they look after one another and there's like a real bond right there. But the actors, to me, you can see it on the screen. They enjoy what they do. They enjoy being around each other and they enjoy bringing these characters to life.
For me, like Dexter Soul, I will second what Brittany said about Dexter Soul. Like he perfect casting. What I enjoy most about his performance is that he's able to like navigate playing the common stable boy and the royal prince like kind of effortlessly. Like he kind of weaves back and forth between those two things. Like even after we find out, who he is, like who he really is, like he's able to like also go back to being Dunk Squire and like, lower himself, status wise in the moment in that particular role, like effortlessly. Like it doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't feel like, oh, look, this is, royal prince foe playing as a commoner, as a squire. Like you believe that he's a squire because he sells it. It's like you could tell like this is something that means a lot to the actual character. Like he really, really, sees himself as somebody, I have to be good at this. And he dives fully into that. And then at the next moment, he's in the room with his Lord Father and he's, Royal Aegon the Fifth. And like, I believe both roles, and I think that's the pinnacle of like doing your job as an actor is like, can I believe that you're a commoner? Can I believe that you're a stable boy? Like, again, had not read the book fully, so I hadn't even gotten to the point in the book where you meet Egg. I was just like, man, this shit is just boring. But like seeing it now, I was like, okay, I can tell how somebody who's unfamiliar with the story overall would not know that Egg is like, Aegon Targaryen the Fifth. So I've been very impressed by Dexter Soul and his ability to like Michael B. Jordan both roles like very seamlessly.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, no, the duality of being able to be the same person, but it's not the same person.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
like you
it's
believe him. And I think everybody
yeah.
else around him believes it. Like I think Mekar believes, like, oh, he's a squire. Like when he's playing the role of squire, he's a squire.
Yeah.
When he's back, with his family, he's him, and both of them are believable. So like again, I agree, he's been the biggest star of this, the biggest star maker, a rising star. He's somebody, man, like I'd love to see what his growth looks like as an actor in other roles. But also, yeah, I mean, Peter, I forgot, how do you say his last name again?
It's Claffey. No, it's Claffey.
Oh, Claffey.
Yeah, I could definitely see him playing some type of superhero or villain or something in a big production. Yeah. He can really sing too. Like they had a rap party in Rome, and he was singing, I want to say Sinatra, New York. Yeah, he killed it. It's really good. Look that up.
I love that.
He's somebody you tell, like he has star written all over him.
It's multifaceted. I love that.
Especially, next season, you'll definitely see him with like the longer hair, like you see in the book. Like he's got movie star written on over him as well.
And getting really, really quickly, getting back to Aegon's character, right? When we first are introduced to Aegon, he meets Sir Dunk, and then next thing you know, he's like putting on the helmet, riding the horse, and the same joke that has played out through Game of Thrones when Sir Dunk catches him and Aegon goes, "My lord," right? It's my lord if you were a commoner, right? And for Sir Dunk to not pick up on that, obviously, because he just is not that well versed with the two phrases, right? That was to tell, obviously. I love that little nod, but then to consider why Aegon is there, because he's there with his brother Darren, right? Darren, who is a dreamer, and we've already know a little bit about Targaryens and dreams and what have you. And for one, most people didn't pick up that Darren is a Targaryen because he's sandy blonde versus having the traditional silver Targaryen hair. But then for them to have escaped the party, if you will, that is headed to Ashford, and why Aegon doesn't want to be seen as a Targaryen, like when at the finale, his hair's starting to grow back, the white hair is starting to grow back, and then he goes to very drastic measures to want to be rid of the person who I guess has been torturing him throughout his young life, and just how heavy that is for a child of his age, right? He's one of 4 sons to a prince, who may or may not inherit the Iron Throne. And there's just so much heavy history that is Targaryen. And for that to be carried on the weight of a child's shoulders is a lot. Like, it's a lot. And so I don't blame Aegon for wanting to have a different life, and if it means a simpler life, a squire's life with Sir Duncan, who he has grown to form a bond with, I mean, so be it. So be it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. You have Egg, who's trying to get away from his family, and you have Dunk, who's trying to find a family. When the story starts, we see he loses his master, Sir Arlen Pennytree, or Serlin Pennytree, and that's where it starts. And we get the gross out moment that you referenced before. By the way, there's a lot of shock humor in this season. Almost every episode, there's some kind of shocking thing that they show, and just kind of it's a typical HBO kind of Game of Thrones kind of deal to do. But I was kind of surprised because I mentioned before how I thought the show, it looked comedic in the trailers, but then when the season played out, I didn't feel like it was any. I mean, maybe it's slightly funnier than the other shows, but like to me, it didn't feel like it was like trying to be a comedy. It just felt like it was like a a show about what life was like in that era, and there was funny stuff happen because funny stuff happens all the time. To me, that's what it felt more like that than it did like hey, we're purposely trying to get a laugh track going here.
Yeah, when you have a show like that's this grounded, the story is grounded, like you're going to get grounded dialogue. So you're gonna get crass humor, you're gonna get drunken lords, talking your ear off. You know, like it's not steeped in like this royal politics and stuff like that, which tends to be more stern, tends to be more serious. Like this show doesn't take itself as serious, which I love, but like it also you never forget where you are as well. Like, hey, when the Targaryens show up, like rules change, customs change, you have to like adjust to your situation and adjust to who's there. But outside of that, man, like this, we're at a tourney, man. We got whores and merchants and you got a puppet show going on. Like there's just so many different things that are happening that just are in day-to-day life of just Westeros in that time. So especially again, this is relative peacetime. After 80 or so years after the Dance of the Dragons, like this is a time to like just kind of unwind and just kind of go about day-to-day life. Again, until the Targaryens show up, and then of course drama follows. But this is a grounded show. Like the characters are grounded for the most part. Like there are no dragons really. So we don't have that looming threat of like, you know, this destructive force that could like burn the entire country to the ground. It's just, man, we're at a tourney and like things are happening. Again, you appreciate that coming from like these other stories, which are just like granular in nature, into like this is just everyday people.
And no one remembers Sir Arland of Pennytree, though. Brittany, you mentioned, you referenced the start of season of episode 2. It seems like the ladies of the realm might remember him like that.
Oh, God Almighty!
Do you want to? Do you want to talk about the elephant in the room or the whatever kind of animal you want?
Something in the room. Good lordy, a different dragon. I want to know if somewhere down Sir Arland Pennytree's lineage is Podrick going to be related to him, because to this day we still don't know what Podrick did to those women in Game of Thrones. I mean, is he well endowed as well? I mean, good grief. Yeah, that was a very shocking moment. Again, my mom was with us when we were watching this episode. And it's always awkward when your parent is with you and you see that kind of a scene. Full on, just hanging there.
Yep.
How do you recover from that? You don't. Okay, you just got to move on from it, right? And pray to God that there isn't going to be anything more than that, because that was a lot. I was a little bewildered as to why Sir Pennytree or Sir Arland was given so much of that kind of screen time, and I think because I think it was the showrunners who said it. If they didn't kind of give a little bit more to Sir Arland and the little bit that you already did see of him in his interactions with Sir Duncan, he was just kind of an asshole. Like he's just
kind of a joke. He was a joke.
Oh, it was a joke. Yeah.
No one could remember him, and like
right.
It seems like they're putting him down though. I mean, the rest of the season, obviously, he plays a bigger part in obviously who Dunk becomes. But at that point, it's like it's this guy no one remembers, and he's kind of a joke. And so you're right. The showrunner. Yeah, go ahead.
Up until the showrunner explained it. And it kind of, for me, like when a showrunner has to go and explain something, then you didn't execute that very well. Like that's just, however big he was, you did not execute that whole story very well, in my personal opinion. But maybe I'm just being overly critical. But at least someone in the realm did know who Sir Arland was. And that someone was pretty big, obviously. You're talking about the prince apparent, or the heir apparent, sorry.
Right.
Prince Baelor Targaryen. And what a prince he was. Who wonders what the realm would have looked like if he had actually ascended the throne? Would we have gotten the stories that would later transpire in Game of Thrones? Or could life just look very different, right? You know, they talk about destiny and what the gods favor, and you know, everything's kind of set in stone. And so to me, it's like, well, if Baelor had actually ascended the throne, I wonder would things have still played out the way that they did to ultimately get to Game of Thrones?
I vote no. So like, I just think,
Agreed.
I think that if Game of Thrones is in House of Dragons, just the entire story has taught us anything, is that
Don't have a favorite character.
You say it again.
Don't have a favorite character.
Do not have a favorite character ever. But also, like, these characters are victims of just circumstance, especially the Targaryens. There's so many different moving parts. There's so many different variables that lead to, like, you know, these results of how each individual king and prince and princess and cousin and whatever turn out to be who they are, is because, like, there's just so many different things. The reason why, you know, Egg is trying to get away from them is because he recognizes that, man, Targaryens aren't born mad. You know, like, there might be some genetic things that kind of like push it along, but like, they're made mad because there's so much infighting, there's so much thirst for power and greed and all these things. All those things lead to these, you know, sliding door moments that end up, you know, that result in like these bigger outcomes, right?
I don't know. Arian might be the exception. Just saying. Just saying.
Baelor also, let's say Baelor lives. Baelor also has to deal with the fact that he has a younger brother who has these sons who, you know, of different levels of, you know, cowardice and madness and skill and whatever. Like, all those dynamics play a larger role in how they become in how these things happen. So I think it's always fun to look at somebody like Baelor and say, man, what he could have been if this happened. But unless his family changed, you know, unless the dynamics of just this constant jousting for the Iron Throne and all the power and all these things that come with it, do we know how well Baelor would have, you know, been politically, right? We know that he was just. We know that he was chivalrous. We know that he was a good man, a great fighter, great knight, and all these things, and he carried on these values. But like, we've also seen good men with great values become undone. There's a whole book full of Targaryens who were, you know, good men. Baelor the Blessed, you know, was technically a good guy, but like, he was naive and all these things, and that led to other problems. So we don't know. We can give him the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, he's impressed us enough to say that, hey, you could be a great king, but history has shown that probably not, you know, or maybe his reign would not have been as successful because of variables outside of his control. And like, I've learned to be very cynical about hope in this world, and like, who could be good and what reign could be a good one, because it's just too many things. Like, hey man, you elected this could be the greatest president ever, and then the depression happened, you know. So like, now what, you know? So I don't know, I doubt it, but like, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he could have been a great king. Yes.
But Baelor's downfall, like, you're right, the circumstances for which he dies, which, by the way, he dies at the end of episode 5. Both the endings of episode 4 and 5 were shocking to me. When he decides to join Dunk's team, because Dunk we get the trial of 7, right? Where it's a 7-on-7 fight because Arian is too chicken to fight him one-on-one. He pulls
shit.
We get that moment where, you know, he's the hand of the king. He's the, you know, the next in line for the throne. He's like, I'll fight with Sir Duncan. It's like, that's a shocking moment for me. Like, the music, the Game of Thrones music is playing.
Yeah.
And then at the end of episode 5, we see him, you know, he took part in this battle. He told the guys before, he's like, hey, don't worry about me, because like, the Kingsguard, they're not gonna fight me. They're not gonna hurt me. And then
should have worried about his brother.
You see the back of his head fall off when they take off his helmet. You're just like, and his brains are on the floor. It's like, what a crazy circumstance for this, like, potential, this, like I said, maybe he could have been a great king, who knows, but like, he was the guy, and we see what happens to him. He makes a couple decisions. By the way, I want to get into this in a second about whose fault it is that he died, because, you know, Dunk's taking a lot of the blame, but like, there's a few people we could point to that are more involved, and they all this last name of Targaryen. by the way. So
All of them.
yeah,
Every
So-
single one of them.
so Brittany, just I want to get y'all's thoughts because obviously y'all knew that he was going to die, but like the way they did it, wasn't it? It was shocking. I thought it was shocking.
So, okay, because we're talking about the penultimate episode.
Right.
I did not agree with everyone's rating about it being like a 9.9 out of 10.
Okay.
The reason for that is because of the side story that we got once Dunk had been knocked out, and then you're seeing the flashback of his youth and the struggles that he endured in Flea Bottom with this one, I don't know, knight. I don't know if he was a knight or not, but anyway. And then how Sir Arlen came to the rescue and what have you, and thus you see his loyalty.
Two City
The
Watch.
City Watch. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So that to me was not necessary for that episode. It could have been placed elsewhere. I don't even know if it's in the book or not. I don't know if it served any real purpose other than to once again give some sort of story to Sir Arlen, because otherwise he was just unimportant, right? So I just really feel that it took away a lot from what the penultimate episode traditionally is in the Game of Thrones universe, and that is usually an epic battle that usually does not ever disappoint us. And when we did finally get back to the battle, I was not disappointed. John is over here like watching it with me, and he goes, "Oh my God, are they going to do this?" Like he was waiting for some particular scene to happen, and the scene that he was waiting on was when Dunk was, fighting Aryan, and then he starts dragging him by his leg, and he gets on top of him. He gets the shield, and he starts like smashing his head with it, and that's what he was waiting on. And I'm like, this is incredible. Dunk's been like stabbed and whatever, like 13 million times. I'm like, how is he still alive? Like, that's what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see this freaking flashback that meant nothing in my personal opinion. But going back to what you originally asked, Justin, I just had a sidebar real fast.
Yeah.
I was glad to not have the fight scene focus heavily on Baylor and that of his brother and the fatal blow to Baylor's head, and the idea that he was wearing his own son's armor, right? Because he wasn't anticipating taking part in any of the games in the tournament, right? So he's wearing armor that doesn't belong to him. It's the helmet that's literally keeping him together, even though he's not together, right? He talks about how his fingers feel like wood. And then when the helmet is removed and you hear this blacksmith saying, "Gods be good." And I'm like, oh, that's not good. And then Baylor turns around, you see the back of his head, the condition that it's in. And it's like, oh my effing God, that is insane. Like initially it took me back to The Mountain and the Viper, one of the most epic one-on-one battle scenes. I say battle scenes, fight scenes, I think ever in the history of cinema. And it was, to me, kind of a nice callback to how epic that one-on-one was. And then the idea that this happened because the prince's brother like just struck him and ultimately killed him. Insane. That shock was incredible for me. I think that was executed, no pun intended, very well. But yeah, I wanted to see more of that 7-on-7. That's what I was anticipating, and I did not get that. So I was very disappointed.
I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I thought that, so I haven't seen it yet, but there is a flashback in the books. I've heard, I've seen people talk about it, because just comparing, like, the Wraith character is different in the book. I think the Wraith character is actually a boy. So they changed that around. But I did appreciate, because I don't know if we're going to get, Sir Dunk's backstory in the next couple of seasons. So I do appreciate them kind of slipping it in. And otherwise, again, in the book, the 7-on-7 happens very quickly. It's like 2 pages. So I do appreciate adding in that added context of like who Dunk is and like what has been his driving force. You know, he's somebody who, because he didn't have anything, you know, orphan child, you know, forced to steal and beg and yada yada. Like he's been so limited, I guess, by like the world that was in front of him. And like he didn't want to leave Westeros, like, because for him, all he's known is misery. So it's like, man, what if everywhere else is misery? And like, I felt like, I don't know if we necessarily needed it, but I did think it provided a little bit of extra boost into like who Dunk is and like why he's so resilient, why he's so hard to kill. He's always been hard to kill. You know, he's been through a lot just to get to that particular point. But just kind of stopping what Brittany did, like, yes, it's Makar's fault that Baelor is dead, like, you know, on a micro scale. But if we just keep peeling these layers back, they're only fighting because, you know, Darren accused Dunk of kidnapping Egg, and like these are Targaryen problems. This is what I mean. Like Baelor, greatest of intentions. You know, like, hey, I'm here. I'm at the tourney with my family. Yada yada. We're gonna watch this. Maybe participate. Boom. We're out of here. We're back to King's Landing. But because of his son's cowardice, his nephew's cowardice, like all these things happening, Arryn's madness, the entitlement that comes with being a Targaryen prince, you know, and having this hot temper and attacking the puppeteer woman, like because of those things, now, you know, Baelor has to step in for Dunk because Dunk did what he was supposed to do, which as a knight, right? Or somebody who's carrying on the knight values, which Baelor instantly like recognizes and can identify with. But if his nephews weren't pieces of shit, you know, and if his brother could listen to his smartest son, which is Aegon, and not his, you know, mad son and other coward son, then Baelor never gets in that position. And there's no need for a 7-on-7. So again, that's Targaryen things, man. Like, again, Targaryens, even the ones with the greatest of intentions, are still victimized by the fact that their family is bred to be pieces of shit in a lot of ways. Some don't make it. Some of them, you know, actually turn out decent. But the odds of that are pretty low, not because of their blood, but because of just the convergence of all of them in the same place.
And I'll just say it. Aerion Targaryen is this show's Joffrey Baratheon. Little shit. Like, seriously. My God.
Joffrey would not have gotten into the ring to fight.
No, Joffrey true coward in this whole thing. But like for Aerion to make an accusation and then try to think, oh, well, I'm just going to invoke this 7-on-7 or trial by 7, right? And then I'm going to win because I'm Targaryen. And then push came to shove and he had to withdraw his accusation because he's a little bitch. Yeah, Joffrey would have never made it that far to the battle. Like, look at, you know, Battle of Blackwater Bay, right? Come on. Yeah, he was out of there before it even began. So
was it urgent?
Exactly.
Want to shout out Mega Monster 123 in the chat. He said some great stuff.
Yep.
This is also a point I wanted to mention that that I think that the penultimate episode, the reason why I think it was needed to have the backstory, to have the flashback, is because, like Tristan said, the fight obviously doesn't take up a lot of room in the book, but also it's when we see the fight. I mean, initially, Dunk takes on so much damage right away. You're like, I was like, is he gonna die here or something? Because like, he's getting stabbed and all kinds of stuff, and
gets stabbed in the eye.
Yeah, his eye's messed up. But as Mega Monster says, like, you know, in the book, he doesn't get stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
And he
doesn't get the last stab that you see. That doesn't happen.
Oh, okay.
By that point, he's beating the hell out of Aerion. But
right.
yeah, he definitely catches a bunch of blows in like a short period of time.
Yeah.
But
I do think it was wise to do that because also we get the theme of get up, right? That's Egg is yelling to him, get up, Sir Duncan. You know, and then we get the flashback of him hearing
Superb acting.
hearing Sir Arlen say, "Get up," and that's when he actually wakes up and goes back into fighting. And then because we see that even though Dunk is this huge guy and he could definitely hold his own, he can fight. He's not a skilled fighter. He's not a trained, fighter. And
Right.
whereas Arion is, and despite the height difference and the size difference, like Arion also has armor and all this other kind of stuff. So it's like, I think it was good to show us his backstory in that moment. To me, I think that was a good moment for a flashback because he's knocked out. And it's like, I mean, it's a great way to fill the space and like, how does he get back on his feet? And that's how the way they kind of showed that.
And that's fine. I just feel that the flashback just took up too much of the episode, where I understand fully that the actual Trial of Seven was not a very long descriptive piece in the book. I understand that fully, but this is television. You can embellish, you can, they obviously did it with the flashback and there was none of it in the book. So why couldn't they have chosen to just embellish the Trial by Seven?
All I could say is, I know you haven't watched Wonder Man yet, Brittany, but there is an episode in that series where
is there a Trial by Seven there too?
Not a Trial by Seven, no. No, this show has nothing to do with Game of Thrones. It's the Marvel show Wonder Man, but there is an episode that is the departure from the story, and it is a flashback about a side character, not even the main character, that I know a lot of people really love, and some people thought was kind of jarring. So I'm just saying, like, it's interesting how these shows are doing this, where they're having these flashbacks. At least this one was about the main character. So honestly, I enjoyed the Wonder Man episode also. So I kind of like all this stuff, but I can understand people's complaints of like, oh, like you're taking so much time away from the story. Well, this to me wasn't away from the story. This was just, we're getting more backstory about the main guy. So
like I said, it's fine if you make it work, but then you don't have to like drag it out either. Like I just didn't care. I just didn't care what happened to him as a child and him following Sir Arlen. Like obviously he becomes his squire and what have you. It was just too dragged out for my personal liking.
Yeah. But, and Tristan, you brought this question up earlier. Was he ever actually knighted? Because we see that Dunk he's like, even though he's a hedge knight, he's the most knight of all of them. Like he believes in it. And then we see later on in the finale that he realizes that it's all kind of bullshit. Like it does. That's why I wonder, like we find out that Egg's secret is that he's a Targaryen, right? And that's revealed in like episode 3, which, I mean, I think everybody kind of saw that coming. Even someone like me who hasn't read the book, I knew that this was happening, or you could kind of tell this was happening. But like, to me, it's more interesting. Does Dunk have this secret that honestly doesn't matter? Because like in this world, I mean, he's a knight now, right? Everyone's seen him. He's become a knight, but like, does that become something that becomes an issue for him later on because he's so virtuous and he's so honorable? But in that moment, he kind of had to maybe lie to survive, So my question for you is like, I mean, I think you probably know the answer, but like, do you think that's something that will be a factor in season 2?
No spoilers.
I don't think it's definitive that he wasn't knighted.
Okay.
I like there, obviously, I mean, we can make the assumption,
Right.
Obviously we don't see him knighted. We think we see the moment where, Sir Arlen, dies, and then he like just kind of pops up out of his mini coma and finishes the story, because a true knight
finishes
the story. But we don't know what happens in between that moment and when he actually dies. So it's still possible. And again, I have not read the last 2 novellas. It's still possible that there's a moment where he actually does knight him before he passes. That's possible. I'm going to say it didn't happen. Maybe it was something that Sir Arlen talked about, like, hey, I will knight you, and he just didn't get the chance. So you can see Dunk kind of taking that, initiative and saying, hey, I was knighted. But again, that's the irony and the beauty of the story, because the person we've seen the most who's shown those values of what a knight is, and somebody who like wears the armor of being a knight, even without having actual armor on, because he immediately, once Ed comes and tells him like, hey, the puppeteer woman is being attacked by, his brother, by Arian, he springs into action immediately, like knowing that there are no good options there. Like, hey, I can stand by and watch her get attacked, watch an innocent woman get attacked by this prince, or I can step into action. He immediately does that. How many people in the realm, even like actual knights,
right,
who have all the fancy titles and have the knighting ceremony and all these things, like how many of them would have made that same decision? I don't think there's many of them. So I think he's justified whether he was knighted or not. Like, if you go and do the knight shit, you are a knight, in that time period. So I could not agree. I believe that everything that he did was justified. Like, whether he was knighted or not, he's a knight. So I don't think that that's something that's going to weigh on him, because he actually went through more than what most people did in order to receive that honor. So, man, fuck him. Yeah. Like, again, and he's also looking, like you said, he's realized so much of this pageantry is needless. Like, you could go through all the pageantry, become a knight, and then if a prince strikes an innocent commoner, you are expected to just kind of stand by and let that happen. Like, that conflicts with his very nature as like a true knight, or in the values that he was actually taught. We don't know. Sir Arlen was actually knighted, right?
Fair point. Yeah,
the values are there. So, like, to me, that's what's most important.
Yeah.
So I want to comment on this real quick. It's widely believed that Sir Duncan the Toll is a descendant, or Brienne of Tarth is a descendant of Sir Duncan the Toll. This much has been, I think, confirmed by George R.R. Martin, right? We just don't have like the direct lineage that I at least haven't seen.
Can I pause real quick?
No.
That's very cool, by the way. Real quick. Yeah, go ahead.
In either one of the books or in some type of lore, Brienne finds a shield in her father's armory with a elm tree and a shooting star.
That's cool. I love that. Okay. So again, widely believed that she is a descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall. I personally think, this is just me, I have no basis to support anything of what I'm about to say. I tend to lean on the idea that Sir Duncan was never actually knighted, ever, at any point. And this may be known to Aegon, even when he joins Kingsguard and becomes like commander of Kingsguard and what have you. It was the true heart of Sir Duncan that was that of a knight. He was never properly knighted, but he was very much a knight. And so with that being said, seeing his descendant in Game of Thrones be knighted by a true knight and fulfilling that lineage or that legacy, I think is very poetic, and I think it's really cool. And if they change it, I'm gonna be very upset.
Yeah. And let's just show Mega Monster 1234 is killing it in the chat.
Seriously.
Here. I think it's better if it didn't happen, to show that the most chivalrous person in the Westeros wasn't even a knight.
There you go.
Totally agree. That's super cool.
Thank you.
That's what happens. Also, get a comment here mentioning that Tarth was mentioned in episode 6. That's right. I did notice that too. I did. Yes, that makes sense.
Yes.
And then
finally, make it like Brienne. Brienne was knight for most of the series, but wasn't a knight for most of the series, but represented the values. Exactly. So that's.
And she very much wanted to be a knight, right?
Yeah.
She wasn't accepted as being a lady because she, her physique and her features were just that of not your typical lady, but she wanted to be Renly's in his Kingsguard. She wanted to protect. She wanted to do the things that a knight would do. And then when finally Jaime Lannister comes around and she saw the good in him, and he was like, hey, let me knight you. Any knight can knight someone. And so he does. And I think that would be just really cool and poetic, that if Sir Duncan the Toll was never truly a knight, that at least his descendant would be.
Yeah, great point.
And I mean, he becomes
and what?
It's like Dunk becomes a knight.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, like one of the more famous ones ever,
But like, is it because that's just what they say he was, or because he actually truly was knighted at some point, or did
No, he actually becomes knighted.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
That happens. Yeah.
Damn it! Now I'm upset. Just ruined everything I said.
I'm sorry.
God damn you,
So
Tristan.
let's talk about the aftermath after the death of Baelor. In the finale, we see a very beat up, very injured Sir Dunk. But he's a guy, he's got a lot of offers though. Let's talk about the first offer he gets from a character we have not mentioned yet. I'm surprised we've gone this
And
far
what, he
without
was
mentioning.
die?
No, Lionel Baratheon, who
Yes.
one of the I mean, just an amazing character who every time he's on screen, he's like killing it. Played by Daniel Ings. He basically tells Dunk, like, hey, come with me. I'll train you. We'll go off to were they going to go to Dorne? Is that what he said? No, go to Storm's End. Storm's End. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's his offer.
He's like, I'll love you like a brother.
Yeah. And of course, we met him in the first episode because Dunk kind of was led into his tent for food, and then he ends up having to have kind of a one-on-one meeting with Baratheon, and he dances with him in this ridiculous kind of crazy dance. So first off, Brittany, what'd you think about this character, Lionel Baratheon, and his portrayal by Daniel Ings? And just to me, I thought he was like one of the kind of like the breakaway character, a breakout kind of character who wasn't in the show a ton, but every time he was in, his presence was definitely felt.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can definitely see the the nature of the Baratheon men alive and well in Lionel, just having a good time drinking and what have you. It's like, Robert's just, Robert's ancestor. I get it. Like, I see it. I totally get it. Yes. And Mega Monster points out that Lionel was hilarious. Also, he got a mention by Ned Stark when going over the Baratheon lineage in season 1, which is very true. But yeah, I didn't, again, this whole show, I wasn't anticipating it being, like Justin said, a quasi comedy. So to have a Baratheon be that comedic relief to a degree, but then be serious when it was necessary, right? He was one of the 7 on Sir Duncan's side to fight for him. And he was the one who ended up knighting Green Apple. What's his name? Green Apple. All I can think about right now.
Raymond.
Thank you. So again, it was, so Duncan didn't have the time, probably just couldn't do it because he wasn't actually knighted. But Lionel's like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And he, brings out the sword, and it's just, you hear the voiceover, and it was just very, very cool and just very dramatic, if you will. But yeah, also love the stag helmet that he wore. I love the stag, what do you call it, crutch that he had in the finale episode. Just very, very proud of being a Baratheon and having the stag sigil wherever he needed it. But no, I think he was cool. I think it was just funny how he offered to Dunk, come with me, we'll be brothers, I'll love you like one, or don't come with me and I'll hate you. It's like a okay. Yeah, exactly.
I love Lionel Baratheon's character. I think, we see on one side like the merry party, goer, drunk guy who can, be the life of the party. Also offering like wisdom. He, for some reason, takes a liking to Dunk early on. Like he sees something in him. Like they have like this attachment, like he offers him advice. He is honest with him in ways that other people around him are not. Like he actually listens and like takes heed to like try to learn who Dunk is. But the best part of his character to me is in the finale, where you kind of see like the seeds of like, not even seeds, like this like very open Targaryen descent, like just the animosity towards the Targaryens, not just as a family, but just as a concept. It's like these are not people that we, fight for or fight with. Like they are the enemy, even though the Baratheons and the Targaryens have a very complex, relationship. Obviously Baratheons have married Targaryens in the past. Targaryens will marry more Baratheons in the future. No spoilers, but like Duncan and Lionel Baratheon have some heated. They have a heated relationship later on as the years go. But like you start to see like the seeds of those things. You know, like there's definitely a lot of seeds for things that will happen later on between Dunk and Egg and the Baratheons and the rest of the Targaryen family. That there's a lot of foreshadowing, I would say, you know, in the conversations that Lionel Baratheon and Dunk have. So that's the thing that stood out the most for me, is just like he abjectly rejects Dunk's claim that, hey, Baelor was fighting for you. It's like, no, Baelor really didn't risk much in this. You know, we were fighting for you. We don't have the landing spot of, I'm a prince, I have the King's Guard, they're not going to do anything to me. Like, no, we have to get this out of the mud. Like, we literally are fighting for survival, for our lives. And Baelor, I think truly, like, I think he's correct in that statement. Like, Baelor is not, he's not risking the same things that we are, right? So you see, like, again, the animosity towards the Targaryens as a concept, you know, as a general principle. And that'll come back. I'll just say that will definitely come back.
Good to know. And, you know, also, like, you know, with Baelor, like, you know, his own brother dealt the killing blow. You know, that's the thing that's crazy about that. And speaking of Maekar, which, by the way, like, there are no dragons. The Targaryens don't have dragons right now. But Maekar, is that not a dragon name or what? That sounds like one of the dragons' names.
That is absolutely. It also sounds like a mixture of like Maegor, like the Cruel.
Yeah.
When I hear that, I automatically think of Maegor.
Yeah. So
he's dealing with a lot, though. I mean, listen, he's got 2 sons that like run away from him. He's got another one who's borderline mad, and then he's got the one that we didn't get to see this season, who is off in the Citadel, learning the ways to be a maester, right? And yeah.
He's also got an offer to Sir Dunk. What'd you think about that, Brittany? Where he's like, hey, he's like, you know what? My youngest son has taken a liking to you. He'll be your squire. Come to Summerhall. We'll train you. We'll take care of you. It's all set. You know, you living easy.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great for someone who literally has nothing, who is a hedge knight, who has a lot to learn still, right? So much. That's what Miker had basically told him. Like, yes, you know things, but you are not refined in those things. So it's quite a handsome offer. Obviously, it allows everyone to kind of get something, right? Everyone benefits from this, right? Miker has an opportunity to help his youngest son not become corrupt, right? And he thinks that Duncan will have a hand in that if Aegon squires for him. Duncan benefits by being trained properly to become a true knight and what have you. But Duncan sees what life is for the Targaryens, and it is corrupt. It is not a life worth having, in his opinion. And what he knows is his comfort. And he feels that by Aegon being separated from the comforts of King's Landing and being royal and what have you, he will grow into what I would say being a real man versus just a royal. And there's so much worth and value in Duncan's approach as opposed to what Miker was offering. So Miker doesn't want his son to sleep, you know, on the ground and maybe go days without eating and things like that. He obviously doesn't know that at this point, that his son has already been doing those things, but that is beneath him. That is beneath the Targaryen way of life and being royal and what have you. And ultimately, he tells Duncan, no, like that's not going to happen. And they just part ways, and that's what you're led to believe, that Miker's answer is final. But Aegon has other plans.
But in between that, you know, we see Dunk go back and say, hey, because originally Dunk says, hey, I'm done with princes. I think I'm out of the princes game. I'm just gonna, do my own thing. But, you know, he realizes, hey, like this kid, like I care about this kid, and if he sticks with me, he has a chance to be a good person. And he's not going to become a crazy Targaryen like the rest of them. And so then he goes back to Maekar and he's like, hey, um, let me take him, and like you mentioned, like, hey, there are gonna be nights where we're gonna be sleeping in inns and in stables or whatever, and we might be sleeping under a tree, but like he's gonna learn, how I learned to become a hedge knight. It's a tough life, but it's what he needs basically. And Maekar does not want that to happen. And little does he know that Egg has his own ideas.
I love the way that they portray Maekar, because you can tell like he's conflicted in the sense of like there's these customs and this entitlement that comes with being a Targaryen, but I think he also is self-aware to know that he's not the person to do the job of raising his sons.
Yeah.
Like you said, Darren and Arian had every luxury afforded to them. They slept in the greatest beds. They had feasts and all these things, and that didn't make them any better. Like that didn't make them, stronger warriors or wiser young men,
Yeah.
or anybody that, the realm or the family would feel comfortable, ruling in any type of capacity. So I think he is smart enough to recognize like Aegon does need some outside influence. And I think he correctly realizes that Dunk is a positive influence on Egg. It's like, how far are you willing to go? Like, how far are you willing to let your child, struggle, in order to become the man that you want him to be? That's the push and pull of, being royal. It's like, it's about appearances and perception. Like, his biggest fear, which would be his biggest fear until he dies, is the whispers that people will have about him, dealing the death blow to his brother. Like that's something that haunted him forever. So like so much of this is about perception. What will they say about me? That my son is sleeping in ditches. My son is dressed in rags and sleeping in stables and inns and traveling around the country with a hedge knight. Like that's a little bit for him. That's too far. So I do appreciate that the show kind of made the change. That this is Egg sneaking off again, because in the book, Maekar, Dunk makes the proposal to Maekar that I'll take him. He can learn from me the way I learn. And then Maekar just kind of walks out of the room. Like he doesn't say anything. He doesn't reject it. He's just like, well, actually, he's like, have you lost your fucking mind? And then Dunk continues to make those proposals, and then Maekar just leaves, and like they never talk about it again. So I do like the added wrinkle of, no, this is Egg again, making the unilateral decision that this is what I need, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. But Maekar just continues to realize that he's done a shitty job with like all of his sons. Aemon, they just completely rejected from the jump. It's like, hey, he'll never be a warrior. Send him off. Aegon wasn't really like fully nurtured in love, and he rejected that and went and found his own love. Darren's a drunk. A drunk dreamer, and then Arion is spoiled, entitled, mad young prince. So like I like I say, I love the portrayal of Maekar. It's like you see the conflictedness in his voice, in the way that he's in these scenes. When Egg has that knife and you could tell like he's thinking about killing his brother as he lays there injured. Maekar, that could have been a time for him to like use his authority, like, oh, what's wrong with you? And instead, that's like one of the rare moments of like affection that he shows. Like, hey, I see you, I understand what you're going through, and that's when he realizes, like, hey, he needs to get out of this environment. So it's a wonderful portrayal, great writing, great characterization of who Maekar is. We don't get that much in the book, but I do like them fleshing out his character a lot more.
And I agree with that because Miker says to Dunk when they first meet that he was going to send Arian to the Free Cities and saying, hey, maybe some years there will teach him. Maybe he'll be all the better for it and whatnot. So, yes, Miker, like any parent with a bunch of boys, is probably just trying to do his best. I believe his wife is deceased, right? And so there's something about when you don't have both parents present, right, to kind of balance, raising them and what have you. Also, this is just not selling it to me to have kids. No disrespect to anybody, but like this is tough. Okay, this is a lot, like a lot. So good for y'all who have children, just not for me. Anyway, that being said, I do agree that Miker has seen just how each one of his sons have turned out, with the exception of maybe Aemon. Mega Monster here says that Miker didn't want to send Aemon off. It was Darian the second, the good, who did that because there were too many princes. So, okay, that would happen. But Aemon's all the better for it, truth be told, right? The one that got away. And for Aegon, he's just, listen, as the youngest, it's tough. Okay. It's tough being the youngest because you see the stupid shit that your older siblings have done. You're just trying to live your best life. You have an overprotective parent who just wants the best for you, but they're suffocating you. I get it. Just saying. I understand. But yeah, I appreciate Aegon having his own mind and wanting to do what he feels he needs to do. And if that means being with Duncan as opposed to being with his family, more to you, more power to you. Like, go for it, baby boy. Just protect him at all costs.
And then as the season kind of wraps up, we get the conversation as they're, Dunk and Egg are about to head off on an adventure. And Egg points out there's actually 9 realms, not 7, which I thought was a pretty funny thing to do. And then they even threw up the title card, the Night of the Nine Kingdoms. Tristan, were you aware there are 9 kingdoms instead of 7? I was not aware.
Yes, but
yes.
It's technicalities, like it's so much of this is about Dorne's relationship with the rest of the realm and how people see it, and it took a while for everyone to like recognize Dorne. And they, even when we get to like Game of Thrones, Dorne is still kind of seen as like off to the side. So yeah, like when you hear people talk about these different kingdoms, you're like, oh, there's much more than 7. But we just call it the 7 kingdoms, and it sounds better.
It's
it
the
rolls off
branding.
the tongue.
It's like the Big Ten. There's 18 teams in the Big Ten or 16 teams, but it's always going to be the Big 10. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's curious too, because the fact that in this family of Targaryens, they are also half Martell. Like, so Martell's of Dorne, right? So yeah, that could kind of help explain why there's 9 kingdoms.
Do y'all think this show would be a good entry point for someone who's never watched any Game of Thrones show? Or do you think it's really like, I mean, even though it's it's a prequel, do you think it relies heavily on like having to know like, oh, who are the Baratheons, who are the Targaryens, or does that not matter? Is the story of Duncan Egg strong enough to be like, hey, I'm going to jump into this Game of Thrones thing. I'm going to start with this new show, and then if I like it, maybe I'll go back and watch the 8 episodes of the original series. What do you think about that?
You mean 8 seasons?
Yeah, sorry, 8 seasons.
No, because maybe I'm just conditioned, but like each one of these names holds value, and I think the stories, you would have to know at least about like Aegon's you would have to know something about what happened before to understand why the Targaryen name is so important. The Baratheon, like possibly I think you can I think you could be entertained overall by the story. I think it's a very entertaining story, but like I'm too far into like the Thrones world. Like it's a hard. There's so many references to things that happened before that when they talk about dragons, if you haven't seen a dragon, it's like why is the dragon thing so important in this particular story? Like, why do they mention dragons? Why does Arian take offense to the puppeteers mimicking a dragon dying? Stuff like that will just kind of go over your head. You might overlook it as just kind of like the side story, but like that stuff is like remarkably important. Like, so as a Throny, as somebody who's like deeply entrenched in this, I would say no, but I think you could still come into the show and be very entertained. But man, going from this show to like season 1 of Game of Thrones would be a fucking culture shock, to say the least. That would be a shock to the system.
Okay, so then I want to pose this question.
Go for it.
Like the release of the original Star Wars, and then you have the prequels, and then you have the sequels. Do you watch the shows how they were released, or do you watch it chronologically?
That's a good question. Like, would you start with House of the Dragon and then this show and then Game of Thrones, or would you do Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, this show?
Exactly.
That's a good question.
Ooh, that is a good question.
Oh my God.
I think you got to start with Game of Thrones. Just like for me with Star Wars, you've got to watch the original Star Wars movies. Otherwise, me personally, I wouldn't care about, because the prequel Star Wars movies are so bad that like I'm not getting past the first one if I haven't watched the original movies. That's just me though. So
wow.
I think you could start with House of the Dragon. Again, House of the Dragon operates on the shoulders of Game of Thrones. So like literally the first episode, the pilot of House of the Dragon starts with, hey, such and such years before the events of Game of Thrones. It's like
172 years before Daenerys Targaryen.
It presents itself as a prequel, so like that subtext is hanging over the entire series. It's like, hey, there's so many parallels to like different characters. Like House of the Dragon definitely does not want you ever to forget that this is a prequel to Game of Thrones.
Yes.
So, but I do think you could. I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Again, context, right? The reason why House of Dragon works so well is because we have the context of what happened after, which gives much more, credibility. I want to say, or what's the word I'm looking? It gives a boost to the actual show because of what happens after. It's like all these things, man. Oh, this is why this happened.
It just like reinforces the events that have happened in Game of Thrones.
This is why this is so important, because we know what happens after. So, but I do think it's plausible for somebody to start with House of Dragon and then flow right into Game of Thrones. It'll be a culture shock because of I don't know.
I mean, granted, we don't have the full series that is House of the Dragon, right? There's still this upcoming season and then the final season. But it just popped in my head. It's like, well, how would one who has never watched a Game of Thrones universe show begin their journey? Do they start with Game of Thrones, then go to House of the Dragon, and then Knight of the Seven Kingdom, or do you watch it chronologically?
Good question. Yeah, it really is.
Let us know in the comments if you're watching our replay. How would you watch anything Game of Thrones?
Got a couple of little tidbits before we get out of here. A couple things I noticed. If you listen to us, if you watch this, we're all about the superhero life. Me especially. I love Marvel, love DC, and there are some connections to that world in this show. I noticed the name. I always look at the credits and look at the cast, and I noticed the name Tom Vaughan-Lawlor, and I was like, I know that name from somewhere, right? So in Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the guy that's hawking loogies, he's clearing his throat. He's got the phlegm problem.
Yeah. In the very beginning,
where
Dunk wants to enter the tourney, and he's like, find someone who knows you.
He was the voice of Ebony Maw in the Avengers in Infinity War.
No way.
Endgame, yeah. Because
Oh my God, I can hear it now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And then also the music for the show is was composed by Dan Romer. And I honestly, when I watched the first episode, the way the music was playing at the end of the episode, I go, you know what? This sounds just or very similar to a show that I loved was Superman and Lois. Is a show a couple years ago on the CW. And the music was very similar. I was like, I think it's that guy. And I looked it up, and sure enough, it was. I was like, wow, like that's
Wow, you nerd.
like it's well, I was gonna ask you what y'all thought about the music because obviously they do play the Game of Thrones, theme a couple of times. But to me, I liked how because it was a small folk show, you had like kind of like a folksy, like western-ish, like
Mhm.
there's even some like jazz kind of music. It's
Mhm.
more of like a to me, the music, I don't know if y'all have ever seen Lonesome Dove, but the music of Lonesome Dove is kind of what this music is in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So, Brittany, what'd you think about the music? Was it a highlight or was it just like, it's okay?
Truth be told, it's not something I gave much thought to.
Yeah,
I mean,
fair.
yes, you want to hear the theme that is like, or the hero music that is Game of Thrones, because that just has played out in all the adaptations of shows that we've watched so far. So, but it was kind of cool. I don't know why I'm just like so blurry on the screen right now. I'm trying to get back in focus, y'all. But I don't understand. No, I do understand. To me, it kind of gave me A Knight's Tale vibes, right? You have that blend of some sort of medieval music, but then they throw in some modern music into it just to kind of make it, I don't know, edgy, different, kind of stand out. So in a way, while there weren't like songs from Queen or, things like that in this show, there still was a different, more modern take with the songs as opposed to just a score being written and played with just instruments and what have you. So it was kind of cool. It was different, but truth be told, I just didn't give it much thought.
It's fair.
Same. The one time I really noticed it was in the finale. I forget who, like, was it Dunk and Lionel was standing over. You see them from down below, and there's like some more modern type of music. Maybe it's that was like the jazz part you were talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's the one time I like really noticed like music outside of like when they were at the tourney and you get like the old medieval music playing in the
Mhm.
background, but I didn't really notice the music too often.
Yeah, I liked it. It was kind of like there was some lightheartedness to the music. It was like you could tell they tried to do something different with this show because this show is different than Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon.
Mhm. I did like the little song that Aegon was singing, right? When it was a verse and then that verse would end with almost like a bad word and then it would just flow into the next verse of a person's name and just like I'm like, was that in the book or did someone actually like write it for the show? And then you have this child like singing it. My God. Yeah.
There's another song they sang about a girl with 3 fingers or something and how she utilized her disability.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was when Arian like broke her poor girl. Oh God, that was cringe. So cringe.
Definitely was. Tristan, do you have any other like kind of things we didn't touch on you want to mention?
Shout out to Sir Raymond Fossaway, man.
I was gonna bring him up. Yeah.
This is how you come up, gets knighted, rebels against his cousin, the fraud.
Yeah.
About to, hop up in the apple business, the cider business. Got laid, got married, might be taking care of somebody else's child. Who knows? But he seems happy, man. And hey, in a feudal society where you might live to 9 and 30, and we might look at you as an old man. Shout out to Baelor. It seems like he came up pretty quickly in the span of 2 days. So shout out to Ray. And I mean, he's a great friend. Came through for Dunk. Survived the first trial of the 7 in 100 years. Came out on the winning side. Shout out to Raymond Fossaway, man. Low key MVP of the season.
Yep. He bought back one of Dunk's horses and was going to give it back to him, Sweetfoot.
Yep.
But Dunk instead said, no, let her live in the orchard. Let her graze there or whatever. Yeah.
So I was talking about this, the finale with the coworker of ours, and he was trying to reference the name of the horse, Sweetfoot, but he ended up calling her Sugarfoot. And I'm like, are you talking about the redheaded whore that Fossil he like marries? Because I didn't catch her name. Like I just thought that he was referring to her as, because yeah, he gets knighted. 2 days later, he's married, and supposedly she's pregnant with his child. And it's just like, and you believe this, you dummy? Like, but okay. Like,
shout out to
whatever
Dunk.
makes you happy.
Hey, man. So, yeah, I got it, man. Congratulations.
For real. Rockers LA, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being here. It says, shout out to Egg for saving Dunk's ass on multiple occasions. Yeah, for sure. Also, the performance of Dexter when he's calling out to Sir Dunk, saying, get up, sir, and then the dude's about to blow the horn to, like, you know, end the whole trial, and then he's like, like, I would have lost my voice. How this child was able to do that, like, good for you. I used to call cadence for ROTC in the parade, and I ended up losing my voice by the end of the day. So I don't know how this child was able to do that. Shout out to Dexter for being a badass little kid.
How about the scene when he's like practicing with Thunder, the other horse?
Aw.
Practicing, like, you know, how to give Sir Dunk the sword, or here's the lance,
For the
or
jousting.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that kid. I can't wait to see what he will bring to the table for season 2. I think Mega Monster here said something about it would be funny if Dexter ends up being taller than Peter, or, you know, Egg ends up being taller than Sir Duncan.
Yeah.
I don't know, that he's like, what, 6'3", 6'4"? He probably won't be.
Dunk?
I don't know.
Dunk is 6'11".
No. But the actor is like 6'3", 6'4", or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But they
like,
definitely
there's no way Peter is that freaking tall. Jesus.
But you know what? I think they do shoot him to look like he's taller than that.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
6'3" is tall, but like, you're right.
You're 6'2", so I mean,
I heard in the books that, like, he's like Tristan said, he's 6'11" in the books. So, like, but with the way they shoot the show, they do make him look like he's much larger than 6'3". So, I noticed that. Anything else before we wrap it up here?
No, I was just pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed the show. The last 2 episodes, like I said, for me were just a little meh. Especially the finale. I mean, I know it's wrapping up what's happening this season, and, you know, setting forth the foundation for next season, which hopefully we get next year. It looks like, and it sounds like, Egg and Dunk are headed off to Dorne. I'm sure it's going to become a much darker story when traveling to Dorne, or when they arrive in Dorne. Again, I haven't read the book or novellas, have no idea what to anticipate. So yeah, I'm just very much looking forward to seeing what we're given next season.
Yeah, Tristan, what are your thoughts on what you expect for next season? Or I guess one question I want to ask you before we get here, given how this season kind of played out, besides Dunk and Egg, of course, do you think we're going to see many characters from season 1 appear in season 2? Maybe other characters? Yeah.
No.
Not Baylor.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see. I don't think we'll see much of any of them, honestly. Maybe
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Maybe Sir Raymond. Maybe, you know, he might pop up because I mean, they're not too far away from where Dunk and Egg are going. They're going to spend a lot of time in Dorne.
Yeah.
In the, you know, surrounding areas. So no, I don't think we'll see much of a lot of the characters we saw in season 1. No.
I have a question. Do you think we'll see a character referenced in season 1 that we didn't get to see at all? Do you think we'll ever get to see Aemon, a young Aemon?
No, because by this point, Aemon's at the Citadel.
True, but if there's ever an occasion that would take them to Old Town so that they can visit the Citadel.
Possibly. I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible. I'll know. Trust me, I'll know more within the next couple of weeks. I'm finished. I got like 100 or so pages left in this book, so I'll know much more by then.
Yeah, maybe he can get away from the Citadel like on spring break or something. You know, just
Listen. Yes, I'm here for that.
so as we kind of wrap up here, Brittany, final thoughts on the first season of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, and overall enjoyed it. I had no idea what to expect, and I encourage those who have not watched it, give it a go. See how much you like it. There are some surprises in the very first 2 episodes of Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Be prepared for shock. I won't say awe, but shock. It's explosive. But yeah, I mean, six episodes, about 30 to 40 minutes a piece. Like, yeah, it's an easy binge watch, honestly. And yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts. So come back and watch this wrap up of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms season 1. We'd love to know your thoughts. Just leave them in the comments down below. Tristan.
I mean, this show got me back into like invested in this particular story in a way that I couldn't, allow myself to get invested in years past. So like I'm deep into it. Definitely can't wait to finish the book and just learn. I know what happens now at the beginning of Dunk's story. I definitely know what happens at the end of Dunk's story. Like I'm so excited to learn more about like the middle part, like the meat of his story. So shout out to Knight of Seven Kingdoms, man. Like even the fact that the episodes are shorter, like just makes the story like more succinct, and just a better overall experience. So I'm deep. I'm in it, heavily invested. Can't wait for season 2.
Doesn't it feel so good to be back in it? Like last night, after it was over, I was like looking for other Thrones stuff, and I like on HBO Max they have an ambient video of Game of Thrones, which it's like a background, and it plays different music. Like it plays the Reigns of Castamere, and it's like a 30-minute video. I sit there and I watched it like twice. I just had it going on my TV, and I was like so like hyped. It was just like I was like, this is the way we felt 10 years ago. Like this is how it was. Like the reason why we started this podcast was because of the final season of Game of Thrones. Yeah. So like obviously this show means a lot to us, and it's so cool that it's back.
Justin. Yeah. If I ever hear you play Reigns of Castamere as the ambient music in the office, I am booking it out of there because I know shit's about to go down.
That used to be a ringtone of mine for
oh my god. If you know, you know, right?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. But if you're starting with the Knight of Seven Kingdoms, you'll find out at some point. You don't know, but you will find out very soon.
Good grief.
Yeah, so that about does it for our review. And now you know what we thought about it. We want to know what you thought about it. Brittany, how can people let us know?
Well, we always encourage those to join us in our live chats, just like Carolyn, DJ, Novavert, Mega Monster, and Rockers LA did. We appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to join us, chat with us. It's really always more entertaining to have engagement and take your questions, your comments. It's why we do what we do, and we enjoy what we do. So thank y'all for taking time. If you haven't had an opportunity to join us in our live chat, now is the time. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and also hit that notification bell that way the next time we go live, which we do have content coming to you shortly as it is a new year. But if you're watching us on the replay, we always want to hear from you as well. Leave your comments in the comment section down below. And don't forget to follow us on our social media. Links are in the description box. And check out our audio podcast available to you on Apple and Spotify. Give us a follow and give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. So for Brittany and for Tristan, I am Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.